Hi everyone, I'm Kate Kettle and this is the Book Chain Project. We are nearing the end of Series 1, this 2021 series of authors, interviewing authors across the UK children's literature scene. And we are still taking applications for next series. We already have quite a few. We have a couple of places left, so if you haven't heard of it before and this is your first introduction to it, please do go to the links below or go to www.klkettle.com and follow the information for the Book Chain Project. This week, Melissa Welliver is interviewing Kate Gilby Smith, and there's stories of time travel and writing about the challenges of writing about it, and a little bit of Doctor Who nerdiness, I'll be honest, and I'm all here for that. So follow along and I will see you on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi everyone. I'll just introduce a little bit whilst we're waiting for people to tune in. Okay, so I'm here for the Book Chain. It's my turn to interview. Last time I was interviewed by Chrissie Sains, and this time I'm interviewing Kate Gilby Smith, who wrote, I'll just bring up very not old school, but my Kindle I read on my phone, The Astonishing Future of Alex Nobody. I know it's probably reversed for you guys, by Kate Gilby Smith. So she should be here with us soon. Which I'm really looking forward to. And yes, if you want to catch my interview last time, it's on Chrissie.Sains, I believe is her Instagram handle. And I was talking all about the Undying Tower, which is my book. So yeah, so I guess we're just waiting for our guest to arrive. I'm really excited to be talking to Kate today because I love speculative fiction, and this is middle grade and time travel, and I'm really excited about it. So it should be really good half hour of fun. Oh, I should also say a bit of housekeeping. I won't be able to answer any questions if you guys post, because we will be racing through and I'll be asking Kate loads of questions and we'll be dead busy. So I will struggle to answer any questions. But if you guys have questions, I'm sure I'll check in with Kate, but I'm sure we'd be happy to answer them on Instagram if you want to write them in a comment afterwards when I post the video. Oh, I think that's Kate now. Wait for it to join.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. I'm so glad you've come because you've pushed off the screen what's on top of my wardrobe, which is just a pile of stuff. So
that's so funny. You said that because I had stuff on the top of my bookcase that I just shoved to the side, and I was like, it looks like I'm wearing a hat or something because it was.
No, I know. I feel like as authors we're supposed to have this amazing bookcase with all our books, but I don't have that. No, I just have my wardrobe.
So I have the one bookcase, so I kind of I'm right in front of it, but you don't want to see what's around.
Amazing. Well, we have quite a few questions to get through because I was loving reading The Astonishing Future of Alex Nobody. So why don't we crack right into it? So I just thought, at first, if you could tell us a bit about yourself, Kate, and a little blurb about the book in case anyone's not ready yet.
Yeah. So here it is. My name is Kate Gilby Smith, and and I was born in Guernsey in the Channel Islands, and I now live in London. And I have worked in publishing for about 6 years as a publicist for non-fiction books, so adult non-fiction, but I'm currently on sabbatical. So I'm about halfway through a 6-month sabbatical to focus on writing, which has been great so far. And so, as I said, this is my debut children's novel, and it is about a girl called Alex Nobody, who, since she was born, strange people dressed as tourists have kind of turned up throughout her life. So they're there on the day that she's born in the hospital trying to get a peek at the baby. They turn up at her school play, even though she's only the llama, and they have binoculars trying to kind of get the best view of her. And they're there in the supermarket, kind of leapfrogging over tins of soup and hiding behind cabbages. And they all seem to think that she's somebody special. And she has absolutely no idea why they think this, and she just kind of assumes that everyone has these strange experiences, especially if they grew up in a small town like she does. And it's not until a boy called Jasper turns up on her doorstep on the day of her 12th birthday party when nobody else comes. And he seems to have some clue as to why people seem to know who she is. They kind of treat her like she's famous. But before he can tell her and let her in on the secret, he disappears. And so Alex ends up accidentally hitching a ride 80 years into the future, where she sets out to look for Jasper and to rescue him if he needs it, but also to discover the secret of why all these people seem to know who she is, and who she becomes in the future, what her astonishing future is.
It's such a good concept. Like, it's such a nice, unusual concept and twist on time travel, especially with them going into the future, not the past. Like, I was so excited when I saw it because I love speculative stuff, and I've definitely dabbled in time travel writing. And when you go backwards, there's so many loopholes and difficult things. So I absolutely love the premise. So I thought, if you could tell us a little bit, I know you were talking as well about being on sabbatical and writing the book. If you could tell us a little bit about your writing journey so far. So from when you started writing through to sort of getting the call, if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess I've always written since I was a kid. I think probably like most writers and like yourself, my favourite subject at school was kind of creative writing, and I was thinking about this week that it's the same feeling when I would like write a story for homework and then I wait for the teacher to give it back, and be like, am I gonna get a sticker? How's it gone? It's the same feeling as when you send off your edits to your editor or something, and I guess that's kind of never gone. But yeah, so I've always written and always loved writing. And I had the idea for the book how long ago? Well, about 2014, so about 7 years ago, when I was in my last year of university. So a little while ago, and I did a philosophy degree, mainly because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and philosophy let me do a little bit of everything. And I did a time travel course because I think I was at University of Edinburgh, and it was one of the only places where you could do time travel. And
That's
I was
amazing.
a huge Doctor Who. Yeah, I was like, who wouldn't do this?
Oh my God.
And I was a big Doctor Who fan, and anything to do with kind of sci-fi and time travel. And I was like, but you can get a degree where you write essays in time travel. So obviously I did that. And I was sat in the class and I started daydreaming about what I would do if I went back and met somebody like Albert Einstein, and what I'd ask him. And then I thought about how weird it'd be for Albert Einstein if I turned up when he was kind of like 9 or 10. And because I remember reading about how he wasn't that great at school. And so I started, how weird it'd be for somebody if you were famous in the future and people were traveling back in time to meet you. And then I had the idea of a character where that kind of happens. But then I tried to write it and it was just really terrible, and I had no idea. I knew the premise, but it was just all coming out really rubbish. So I kind of forgot about it for a few years. And then it was maybe 4 years ago, I decided I'm really going to try and write this story. And I kept looking out thinking maybe someone else will write something really similar, and I kept looking, just thinking maybe it will be too late, and then it wasn't. But I thought, if I don't do it now, maybe I never will. And so I started to try and just write short stories for adults and write poetry for children, and write loads of different kind of things as to try to learn how to write it. And then I was really impatient in terms of getting, I learned a little bit about how to get published, and I learned about literary agents, and I learned that they want you to submit lots of the time 3 chapters.
Right.
And so what I decided to do, rather than trying to write a whole book, was just write 3 chapters and try and make them as good as possible. And then I wrote the 3 chapters, and then because I'm really impatient and literary agents will hate me for this, I just sent off the 3 chapters and I hadn't written the rest of it. And I know,
The worst.
Instant gratification, just wanted to put it out there. And and then I actually got a literary agent replied and said she wanted to read the rest, and then I really panicked because I hadn't written anything. But then it kind of spurred me on, and I spent the next year writing it. And then after that I got my agent. That was in 2019, and then it published in 2021. So that's brought me to now.
Yeah, gosh, that's quite a long journey as well. I think sometimes people are not sure like quite how long it takes, and especially with the pandemic, I know lots of stuff has been pushed back. I don't know if yours was pushed back as well, but I know like lots of timelines were pushed back, and it's been a bit crazy, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's funny because 2019 to 2021, like it does take quite a long time. And I think I was talking about it so much to friends and family, they thought it'd come out like years ago, and I was like, oh no, it's coming out, next month. And they're like, did that not come out already? Because it's such a long time.
Haven't I already read this?
Yeah.
Amazing. And speaking of which, actually, so with it sounds like it's gone through quite a transformation. Have you always had the title The Astonishing Future of Alex Nobody? Because it's such a great title and it's so character focused, and I wanted to know, did you keep that title, or did somebody else come up with the title, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I first of all had the idea for Alex Nobody. I think because I was about to leave university to do, I had this idea of a scene, kind of like a visual picture, I guess, of a scene of somebody, a kid who was filling out a careers test, one of those ones where you kind of you do little stars for each one, and then at the end of it they say, oh, you're destined to be this or whatever. And I had an idea of somebody who just sat that out and didn't tick any boxes because I didn't want to be destined to be something. And that was the first kind of image of the book that I came up with, and it was a character who says, I'm not anybody, I'm Alex Nobody. And so that was the kind of crux of the book, and I guess it was those feelings of not knowing what I wanted to do. And then I called it The Destiny of Alex Nobody, because I knew that I wanted her to be destined for greatness. And then it morphed from that to The Astonishing Future of Alex Nobody, which is much better than The Destiny of Alex Nobody. So
Destiny is one of those things, I think, as well, that kind of hounds us as kidlit writers. You don't want to be too chosen one-y, but obviously that's part of the crux, which is so amazing about the plot. So also we're talking about the destiny thing and time travel generally. Obviously you're talking about your university, you had a module in university course, which sounds amazing. So what kind of research did you have to do? Because from what I understand, apart from Alex, nobody's following me around yet, so I don't think time travel's quite real yet. So
they might be really good, you don't know.
I know. Yeah, they just might be really good at hiding, who knows. But did you have to do much research when writing the book, and what sorts of things were you surprised that you maybe had to research?
Yeah, so to start with the time travel, because I did that course, I also read loads about time travel. I had an amazing lecturer who he dressed up in a three-piece kind of suite, what do you call it, suit, and he had a little pocket watch, and he was, I'm pretty sure, a time traveler himself. And so that was kind of great inspiration, but he would go through different time travel films and talk about the time travel logic of them. And we wrote essays about different theories of time travel. So, and whether it was kind of logically possible. It was amazing. So that was really great, great experience. And then also, I'm not particularly good at science. And so it talked a little bit about like quantum physics and stuff. And you got to write about it without actually having to do any of the kind of hard bits. So that was great. But then when I wrote about it, there's also lots of, I was writing the book, there's loads of historical figures who are mentioned in the book. So it's not a time travel book where you are kind of going back to the past, it's only to the future, but there's loads of historical figures in the book. And so I had to do loads of research. And there's a character called Guernsey who's kind of a bit kind of morally not so great, in that she steals things from the past, and it's normally it's the things like a handkerchief from Albert Einstein, or things that don't really kind of change history, but she then brings them to the past and she sells them. And so I had to do lots of research into her collection of stuff, because I wanted everything in the book to be real. And so, for example, I've got Ada Lovelace. I was researching into her, and I found out she really had a cat called Mrs. Puff. And I was like, that's amazing. She had this cat, and we know it was called Mrs. Puff. And so Mrs. Puff went into the book as a kind of stowaway from the past. She ended up coming back with Gertie accidentally. And then I found out that Henry VIII had these amazing football boots, and they were on this kind of inventory of his belongings. But no one's ever found them, but they have a record of them being made. So I thought, well, that's because they're in Gertie's collection. And loads of other kind of research, lots of different characters. So yeah, I really got carried away, and it could have just been, I mean, a 700-page kind of list of those things, which would have been amazing and fun, but it wasn't what I was writing.
Yeah, one of those Google holes as well, where you're like, yeah, I'm just researching this one thing, and then 10 hours later you're looking up Henry VIII's football boots.
Yeah,
It's all gone out the window.
Yeah.
Very common with writers. I know, obviously we do lots of work as well. So actually, yeah. It's interesting you brought up Guernsey, actually. So my next question was about the characters in the book. So there's lots of really eccentric characters in the book, real and not real. I should say at the beginning, I am doing a spoiler-free interview, I thought, because it's quite nice to hear a bit about the book, even if you haven't read it. So I was thinking, especially the relationships are quite interesting. And as you were saying, it kind of creates plot, having all these really interesting characters and relationships. So I wanted to know, with me, it's a little bit different. I always start with a what if and kind of the world building, and then that comes later. And I wanted to know, what is it with you? Is it with the characters come first, or does the world building come first, or is it the plot? So what comes first when you're creating those character relationships?
Yeah, I think I'm quite similar to you, actually. I started first with the plot and with that kind of premise of what would happen if a character was famous in the future, and then I had to ask the questions like, well, who is the character and why is she famous, and why does she feel like a nobody? And so by asking all those questions, kind of more and more questions, I started to fill up a character and work out who Alex was. And then when I was writing the book, I read some writing advice, actually. I think it was from Sally Rooney, about how characters work best when they're kind of against somebody, when there's a relationship with somebody. And so I started thinking about who Alex's relationships were, and that's when I was thinking about this character of Uncle Henry, who had brought her up, and that was how she became who she was, basically. And then I started asking myself questions about him, and then he kind of formed, and so on. And then that I didn't plan the plot at all. It kind of started from there and led from the characters.
Yeah, Uncle Henry is amazing, and it really it was almost Roald Dahl-esque, like the Uncle Henry kind of character in the relationship that he has with Alex. And people won't know, but at first, sort of, Alex hasn't really been to school and doesn't really know anyone but Uncle Henry, and it's absolutely fascinating. So that was why I definitely had to ask, because I think part of the hook as well is definitely your characters. I thought they really jumped off the page, even the fictional ones. So actually, I did have another question, especially I think with historical, it can be quite tricky pushing it on kids. I did a history degree. I love history. I've always loved history. However, not all kids love history. They might think it's boring, and they're wrong. So what was it that really brought you into Kidlit and thinking that this is a story for younger children? Because it's sort of a middle grade, maybe upper middle grade type of book, isn't it? So what drew you to that age range?
Yeah, I think it's maybe just that I was an avid reader as a kid, and I just love books with that kind of voice that children's books can have. So writers like Eva Ibbotson or Roald Dahl, they have that strong sense of voice, which obviously books for adults as well have strong voices, but there was something about that voice for children that I just loved. And then the story, the idea for the story just happened to be one for children, and then I kind of wrote it. But I don't know about you, but I wasn't thinking about an age necessarily in mind. I just kind of decided on the voice and wrote the story the best I could, if you see what I mean. So some people, some friends and family say, how do you ensure you're writing it for kind of a middle grade child? But I think I'm writing for myself, my own middle grade child, and yeah, that's just how it comes out.
I know, I always think, like, am I ever going to be grown up enough to write an adult book? I don't think so. That will never happen. No, sure
once upon a time.
I will never do it. Very Peter Pan. I love it. Okay, so I think when we were talking at the beginning, you were saying about what you've been working. I think you've worked in publishing, or sort of that might be what you're on sabbatical right now. So I just wanted to ask, as somebody that works in publishing and then has gone on to publish a book, how does that feed into your writing? And I think sometimes people have a total misconception of, oh yeah, I'm sure that Kate found it really easy because she worked in publishing, and I'm sure that is not the case at all. So yeah, how does that feed into your writing, and do you think there's any advantages and also disadvantages to working in publishing before you publish?
Yeah, I think the advantage was that it made being an author and writing books not attainable, but a thing that people you saw did.
Right.
And
Yeah.
working in publishing, I met people who were authors. I understood a little bit about the process of how they were published. And so while I think if I hadn't worked in publishing, and when I was at university, you know, before that, it just seemed totally unattainable, but there was something about it that encouraged me, I think, to go for it. And also it gave me insights into how it works in terms of getting an agent and things. And I still I got the Writers and Artists book, and I, you know, looked at the list of agents, and I kind of worked it out that way. But it was helpful to know that, you know, there are literary agents and all that kind of stuff. And on the other hand, working as a publicist, I think, is really helpful, because you see books at the kind of selling in stage, where you're pitching it to a journalist or whoever, and so you kind of know in a way what it boils down to, and also the importance of describing the book, you know, trying to describe it in the best way possible. It's kind of practicing that in lots of different ways, lots of different books. And then thirdly, I think the types of books that I work on are all that kind of philosophy and history and science, so they're kind of endlessly inspiring in that way. So that's been helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that sometimes as well, surely if you've been in that world, so it's interesting you were saying that for you it felt like some people, certainly I think, were trying so much harder to get diversity into publishing, and it can feel like an insurmountable task. It can at the best of times, with the most help and the loveliest support network. So I totally understand what you mean when you say it seemed more attainable. I think sometimes though, if you work in publishing, maybe that pressure's there. I remember when I first met my agent, I did always ask, like, so are you into writing? And sometimes you get a yeah, no, I'm really into writing. Other times it's no, that bit's not for me. No, not the writing bit. And it's funny, isn't it, how I think they don't necessarily always go hand in hand, but if you can get them to go hand in hand, I think it's got some great little relationship things that can help you as you move along. So I was thinking actually about the similarities between our books. So mine's very dystopian, and for YA. So I was thinking, I wanted to ask you about, you're writing about future and I'm writing about future. And I like to think that Alex's future, because obviously she feels like a nobody, and then she's got this destined, amazing celebrity future. I feel like yours is perhaps a little more positive than mine, maybe a little bit more optimistic than my dystopian future. So I was wondering, what made you start to think about the future, and what made you, like, how did you create that future? Because obviously you're trying to think about something that we're not there yet. And so what sort of influences did you have when creating that future for Alex Nobody?
Yeah, so I because the kind of theme of the book and the premise of the book meant I had to go to the future. And kind of when I realized that, I was like, oh no, how am I going to do it? Because I was like, oh, she's going to have to go and find out who she is, and that means traveling to the future. And I thought, well, that's incredibly hard and really intimidating. So and I absolutely love dystopian fiction set in the future. Like, it's really my thing. And I had loads of ideas about what it could be like, but it was kind of, I had to remind myself it wasn't the story I was telling here, and so I had to focus on kind of Alex and her journey to find out who she was. And I didn't want to kind of linger too much on what the future was like, and leave that a little bit open to children to kind of think about and speculate. But I did dot it with a few I tried to do it in a light-hearted way, a few aspects of the future that could definitely be quite dystopian, like they have something called a holomorph, where they're kind of I don't want to give too much away, they're kind of cyborgy, but you can use a holomorph to look through and see adverts which kind of feature you and all that kind of stuff. So I involved things like that, and they have cycles, which kind of cyborg bicycles and all that kind of stuff. So I had lots of fun thinking about it, but I couldn't couldn't go too far into the kind of dystopian future. But I'd have liked to again, but it wasn't for this. It was quite light-hearted in tone, but I hope kids will think about it, and they'll think about some of the the consequences of some of the themes and some of the characters and some of the consequences of time travel to the future or to the past or whatever, and it might kind of start questions and debates with them.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice idea as well. And maybe they could talk to their parents about that and thinking about, because obviously Alex is a child. And I think when we're children, we all think we're nobodies, right? We all think we're unimportant. There's times where we all think we're unimportant and we're not the main character of the story. So I think it's quite nice maybe to kids could talk to their parents about Alex Nobody and say, what did you think when you were younger? And thinking about the future and how far we've come. I think it's I think it's a great little idea. And I do think it's nice to see something that's sort of more upbeat about the future, and even though it has some of those slightly darker elements, is a little bit more balanced. I think it was nice break from the very depressing books I write, but but I know I am a fan of dystopian as well, I must admit. So well, now that you're published, what is it like writing now people have read your book? So I'm sure before you had a great support network. I don't know if you want to talk a bit about that, or maybe beta readers, but now, you know, Astonishing Future of Alex Nobody, available on Amazon, available in bookshops. People are reading it, people are reviewing it. Do you read your reviews? Like, what's that like now, writing after people know you as an author?
Yeah, it's really weird having people kind of read your writing, and that was kind of, I think, a process that in the kind of 6 years or 7 years that I was talking about when I was trying to write in different ways. It was getting used to showing people writing. Right. In that process. And so I kind of started by showing my mum and dad and my sister, and it was short stories and stuff, and getting used to that, and realizing that you're writing for someone to read it. So yeah, even if you think you've written something really clever or what, you know, it's got to be good to read. And that was a real process. And then they're my partner Andrew, they're my beta readers, they're my kind of team. Like it or not, I just keep sending them to read. And I don't know about you, but I send them a version, and then like a week later I'm like, oh, I've actually edited it now, so could you read this new version? And I'm just really annoyed.
Yeah, I need to give your notes now. You need to start going.
Yeah, I think they get to kind of chapter 5 and they've spent a lot of time reading it and they have to go back. But no, so that's amazing. And then, but now, as you said, there's more people reading it, and that's amazing. And also with time travel, people ask loads of questions. So I did an event with children in Guernsey where I grew up, and there were amazing questions they were asking. Say, so in time travel, if this happened, yeah, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Or they'd be asking questions about free will and time travel, or amazing stuff. So it's added a whole new kind of dimension, which is amazing. But yeah, it is really scary having people read what you've written, because, you know, as you know, like, you put a lot of yourself into the book, even though it's fiction. It's kind of come from your ideas and your, you know, everything. And so it's incredibly exposing, and that's quite hard to kind of, you get what you want, which is the kind of the dream of it being published. And then I think for me, at least, I had a realization, oh my gosh, this is out of my hands, it's going to be out there, and if anyone wants to read it, they can. And that's really scary. And as for reviews, I do read them. Yeah, I try not to, but I do.
I know, it's bad, isn't it? You try and follow all the advice, but you can't help yourself. Especially if you see a good one, you want to read more. If you see a bad one, you definitely want to read more.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, we really shouldn't. And I think we're just approaching 8 o'clock, so I thought I would just ask if you're able to tell us a little bit about what you're writing now, or next project, if you're able to say anything at all, because I know what it's like in writing.
Yeah, I'd like to tell you everything, but I've sent in my one of the kind of final drafts of my second book, which is a standalone, totally new story, and it's spy-fi, which for about 5 minutes I thought I'd made up myself, as in sci-fi, but spy, and I googled it. Very, very well established genre. But yeah, so it's kind of involves spies and kind of themes of memory and not judging books by their cover. And I'm very excited about that. And it's coming out next June. So that's what I'm kind of finishing at the moment.
Amazing. That sounds really exciting. I've never heard of spy-fi. I'm definitely Googling it after this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I thought you'd made up. You could have just told us that. I think everyone would have believed you.
Oh, I definitely did. Yeah. On the Wikipedia.
Oh my gosh, well, it's been amazing, Kate. Thank you so much for coming to Book Chain.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's been really fun. It's absolutely flown by, hasn't it? And I think, who will you interview next time? So the next one will be over on Kate's Instagram, won't it?
Yes, so next week it will be Sade Fadipe talking about her book A Bouncy 123, which is a fun kind of learning the alphabet book. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Okay, well, thanks everyone for coming, and thank you again, Kate. And yes, I can't wait for everybody to read The Astonishing Future of Alex Nobody, because I read on my phone because I'm a cyborg. Don't worry about it. But if you want a physical copy, they're available. And it was really nice seeing you. Bye.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was so good. It flew
Oh,
by.
it was so much fun. Thank you so much. I loved it.
Oh, it was great. Oh, it's so fun. Is it? I like how we switch places, and it's like you're the interviewer and the interviewee. I love it. So yeah, I thought it was really good. Like, I saw lots of people popping up, and it was nice to be able to ask all my questions about time travel, because I also am a big Whovian. So
amazing. I feel like lots of children's authors are.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, maybe is there a pattern? Is it a cult? Yes, is the answer to both. So
Our people, I think.
yeah. Amazing. Well, now we have, for some little extras, I've got some quick fire questions here. So they won't be too quick, don't worry. I'll give you time to answer. Okay, so question 1. As a writer, what would you choose as your mascot or avatar or like spirit animal? Not a character in your book. So you can, I guess, probably they're asking, I assume, for a fictional character here. But you know what? You do you, because you've got lots of real people in your book, like Ada Lovelace thing. So
I think that this may be not quite what you're asking, but what comes to mind is like a Labrador, which is maybe like some kind of dog. I don't know. That's maybe doesn't paint me a very good light, but I think I'd be some kind of like golden retriever dog type character. Yeah.
Are you even are you even a writer if you don't have some sort of like, oh, here's my writing buddy in my office, here's my office like friend, and it's a cat or a dog? No, you're not.
Yeah. Well, I don't have one, but I just have myself. So no, I wish I had a cat or a dog, but in my flat you can't really have them, which is sad. But yeah. One day.
One day you'll just be a dog and it'll be fine. Okay, cool. Okay, question 2. Top writing tip. Tuffy.
So my top writing tip is to ask yourself questions, kind of what if questions. So if you have an idea, so it might be about, what if I went to space? What if I was the first person to go to Mars? What if I went there alone? And just ask loads of what if questions and keep asking them until you come to a really interesting idea. And for me, that really helps, and it helps the character as well. So, what are they like? What if this happened? What if that happened? And it can take you to interesting places.
I think that's a really good one, because I think lots of people worry about where to start, don't they? And I think that's a part of Stephen King's On Writing. He talks about what if scenarios and that way. So, yeah, I think so. Yes.
Then I thought I'd made this up.
He said it very differently. So it's fine. Excellent. Question 3. If you could only eat one meal and drink one drink for the rest of your life, what would they be?
I think I would eat ice cream. It's my favorite thing ever. And I would drink milkshakes. So I'd just be having ice cream in 2 forms.
So I was going to say, yeah, isn't milkshake just melted ice cream? But yeah, okay, perfect.
It's not going to be very good for you from like having a lot of dairy there, but that's what I'd choose.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So number 4, a good one. Marvel or DC?
I'm going to say Marvel, but I'm not going to give a lot of explanation because I feel very qualified to give a huge explanation, but I'm going to say Marvel. Yeah.
Marvel. Fab. Yeah. Very simple quick fire round. Yeah, we're just talking too much for the quick fire round. That's how you answer a quick fire question. Okay. Yeah. Number 5. Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse?
Mickey Mouse. Yeah, definitely Mickey Mouse. I once, it wasn't at Disney actually, I once worked at Universal Studios
Amazing.
in Florida, and as a job in the summer, and so I feel quite loyal to Mickey. So yeah.
They get you in the end, you know. There's no cameras in your house now, Kate, so okay, you don't need to find Disney forever.
To be clear, I chose Mickey Mouse.
Number 6, what 3 books would you take with you to a desert island or give to an alien? So you can answer either.
Ooh, I like this. So I'd I'd go with the alien to the desert island, and I think I'd take Eva Ibbotsson's one of her books, like Witch or Monster Mission, because I just love them, make me laugh. I'd take Penelope Lively's Moon Tiger, which is one of her books for adults, which I absolutely love. And then I think I might take something like Northern Lights, something by Philip Pullman.
Something amazing. Well, thanks so much, Kate. It's been really fun, and it's been really nice to have you on the Book Chain project. And next time it'll be your turn to ask the questions, so that'll be really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Yeah, lots of fun.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
I hope you really enjoyed that episode. It was a bit wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. Next week, Kate is going to interview Sade Fadipe, and it's our last interview of series 1. Sade is a picture book writer and has created some amazing pieces that I know I would like to read to my children. So I hope that you come back next week for our last episode, at least of the interviews. Hopefully I will have the time before Christmas to create a couple of specials. Keep watching the YouTube videos for that, because they will come out there, and our podcast. The links are down below. I have loved producing this series over the last year and getting to know some amazing authors, and I'm looking forward to taking a break. So keep your ear out on various social medias for the announcement of the start of the next season. It'll be around probably March or April next year. Bye for now.